Welcome to Dasher, where we explore the vast expanses of the Marvel and DC universes. In today's video, we are going to be discussing some of the worst diseases in Marvel Comics. Starting off, things like cancer will not be on this list. Although a reoccurring disease in Marvel history, for the sake of the video we will only be discussing the fictional story-driven ones. And with that out of the way, let's start with the discussion with Mpox. It started out when Thanos was looking for his son, Thane, an Inhuman living in one of the numerous hidden tribes on Earth. He went to the Inhumans looking for him, and Black Bolt, who was one of the Inhumans and their leader at the time, activated a Terrigen bomb to empower everyone on the planet with Inhuman lineage. Well, what he didn't know is that Terrigen gas is actually dangerous to mutants, and this led the Terrigen mist to infect millions in the following months and endanger the mutant kind as a species. Now for the symptoms, it actually creates a specific reaction unique to each X gene, which makes it impossible to make a universal cure. However, if you didn't die upon immediate contact with the Terrigen mist, you'd begin to have coughing fits and dizziness. As the disease progresses, you develop boils and your immune system becomes basically non-existent. And then before death, you collapse and ultimately bleed out. Talk about a horrifying way to go. Good news is that Mpox could actually be slowed down by chemical compounds in people with healing powers, or if you had a healing factor like Wolverine, you would be more resistant to the effect and would recover eventually. On to the next disease though, we have the carrion virus. This virus began as a serum that Dr. Miles Warren created before becoming the Jackal, as part of his plan to destroy mankind and replace it with clones. If you're unfamiliar with all the craziness that is the clones in Spider-Man lore, they basically all suffer from extreme cell degeneration, and to combat this, they have to take a pill that would halt the condition. But Parker Industries, a company owned by Spider-Man later in his timeline, teamed up with the New U Technologies, a company owned by the Jackal, to make a technique that involved organ transplants with the cloned body parts, meaning that whoever would do this got infected with the cell degeneration, which is exactly what the Jackal was planning without anybody even knowing about it. The carrion virus resulted from the reaction of clone cells to a natural vibration frequency that was released worldwide by the Jackal. Spider-Man ended up defeating him by making the counter frequency and spread it worldwide through the global network of Parker Industries, saving the lives of all the clones and infected humans who received the transplant and hadn't succumbed to the decay. You may be wondering though, what did the virus do? Well, it turns its victims into zombie-like brutes that eventually die once the cellular breakdown reaches a point that the body just doesn't work anymore. And although the disease originates through cloned body parts, it is contagious by contact and can affect anyone on the planet with no cure when it reaches this point. Now, to conclude, we have the legacy virus. This was a devastating plague that ripped through the mutant population, killing hundreds, and when it mutated it began infecting and killing normal humans as well. It began when the villain Strife died and left behind the plague in a canister that was opened by a scientist working for Mr. Sinister. The virus originally came in two forms, Legacy 1 and Legacy 2. Both of them searched for the target's X gene, but what they did was a little different. The first form, upon detecting the gene, would begin inserting junk DNA into them. After they used their powers for the first time after contracting the virus, the body would then become unable to produce any healthy cells, ultimately resulting in death of the victim. The second form was actually designed to stir a species war between humans and mutants because this wouldn't kill the victim, but actually make them lose control of their powers. It developed at a much slower rate than the first form, and victims would also develop growths on the skin, fevers, coughs, and overall weakness. Now, this is bad, but if the virus didn't detect the X gene, it would simply just die off and leave the human perfectly healthy. That was before a mutant known as Infectia got infected with Legacy 2. Infectia's powers also allow her to visualize the genetic structure of a person and alter it however she likes. Well, when she got the disease, her powers tried to get rid of it, but when altering the code of the virus, she actually got rid of the part that would not infect a person if no X gene was detected. And just like that, normal humans were screwed as well. Beast actually found a cure for the virus, but in order for it to be dispersed quickly, a mutant had to sacrifice himself, which is exactly what what Colossus did when he injected himself, activated his powers, simultaneously killing him and stopping the spread of the virus, curing it almost overnight. And that wraps up today's video. Did we forget to include any other major diseases? Which of these do you think was the worst? And do you think we could ever see any of these stories on the big screen? Be sure to let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching.